They've gone now, so we can say nasty things about them because we're not being recorded. And they'll listen back to this and they'll start chuckling to themselves a little bit, thinking, where's this going?
Hello everyone and welcome to The Agenda on Blood Red, which today is pretty much the Harvey Elliott show. Myself, Sean Bradbury and Ian Doyle to my left here. We'll be discussing Liverpool's 16-year-old sensation last night, what we've seen of him so far, what we can expect from him in the future. First of all, Doyle, what were you up to when you were 16?
When I was 16 years old and 174 days.
Yeah, exactly, on that exact day.
I think I may have just been starting college.
Yeah.
There's some suggestion that there were no schools at that time. But there were actually, this is true, there were actually schools at that time. And yes, I was just starting college.
Excellent.
I was not playing for Liverpool. In fact, I don't even think FIFA had been written, so I couldn't even play for them on that. Maybe Sensible Soccer, if anybody remembers that.
Yeah, cracking game. Yeah. I think I was working at Woolworths for the name badge that said Omar at Harvey's age. Yeah, certainly not with my own name.
Can you explain what that
Omar,
was about?
Well, I worked in Woolworths for a while, and it wasn't until my last week that they actually produced a name badge that said Sean. So my own name was my leaving gift. And I was under the alias of Omar for a long time.
You do realise that is now what you're going to be called forever now,
great.
Don't you?
Let's move on. Let's move on to Harvey Elliott. So Doyle, you were there last night. He was great last night, and we'll come on to that. But what had you seen of him before last night? What were you expecting when you saw him on the team sheet?
Well, I've seen him a few times. I saw him when he made his debut after he signed from Fulham late in January. I mean, if you remember, we saw him in the crowd, didn't we? At the Tranmere game.
You and Kiva?
Yeah, Kiva. Yeah. Just had a little quick chat, got a picture. But at the actual first game that he played, because he wasn't actually confirmed as a sign until a few weeks after that. First game was against Napoli, in a friendly up in Edinburgh. He played, and to be honest, he caught the eye. You wouldn't have thought, here's a lad who's 16 and has never played for a top tier team before. So then I've seen him play for the under-23. Saw him play for the under-21s as well in the EFL Trophy game at Oldham, and he scored a lovely goal. I think it was Curtis Jones. Who had a shot. It came out. The keeper parried it, came out to Elliott, and he could have hit it first time, but he took a touch and turned, and it meant that the keeper went diving one way and the defender sliding went one way. Then he put it back in, tapped into the empty net. So, I've seen him a few times. I know anybody who heard the press conference from Pep Linders before the game basically came out and said, we've been surprised by how good he is. Considering he's 16, he understands the combinations. He can see the game. He can see, the various moves ahead. He can see the big picture, which, when you're that age, a lot of players then are still concentrating on the technique. Yeah. And just being able to, and that whole thing of having the self-belief and confidence to actually play alongside, and whether they're doubting themselves or not, and whether they can make that final step. But for just looking at him and the way that he plays the game, and just seeing him about the place, he has a lot of that self-confidence, which he, I'm sure we're going to mention bits and bobs that he did during the game, but for example, missing that early chance where he hit the underside of the bar when really he should have scored.
Yeah. For
a lot of people, for senior professionals, that would bother them for ages, wouldn't it? But if he was just like, I'll just crack on, and he was, he didn't let it bother him at all. So he's got all of that, and from what I've seen so far, we've seen players come through. I wrote a piece on the League Cup and the succession of players. You look at Jerome Sinclair, who's still the youngest player to ever play for Liverpool. Harvey Elliott obviously becoming the youngest player to ever start a game for Liverpool last night. Look at the likes, John Newby, players like that over the past, during the Premier League era, who've come in and played in the League Cup, had an opportunity, and they've not had a career. Certainly not at Liverpool. They may have had a career elsewhere, but it's not quite taken off. But I don't think any of them was, with the obviously exception of Sinclair, and been as young as Harvey Elliott's been. He came with a reputation, having obviously, it was exactly a year ago to the day that he made his debut for Fulham in the same competition.
Oh yeah.
So he's somebody who you try not to get excited about these youngsters because you don't want to put too much pressure on them. And let's face it, he's played one senior game for Liverpool, one. And it was against a League One team, and a League One team that were very, very compliant, I thought, on the night. They seemed very happy that Liverpool were there. It's only in the last 10, 15 minutes that they gave it a bit of a go, and you do wonder what would have happened if it'd been like that for the majority of the game, certainly at the start. But he's got so much about him, hasn't he? He seems to be, he's the right height for a player, the kind of player he is. He's got the right build for the player he is. His first touch is completely assured. I mean, he's pulled him out the sky at some point. He has no fear, which admittedly most youngsters at that age when they're playing football don't, but he looks like somebody who's been playing it for an awful lot longer. And the last player that I saw play like that was Wayne Rooney. And I'm not saying he's Wayne Rooney, right? But I am saying that he has a lot of the characteristics that would go on to help Wayne Rooney become the player that he became.
I think I know exactly what you mean by that, and it is difficult to temper your expectations. And when you watch him play, and the way he carries himself, his low centre of gravity. I thought everything you wrote about him last night was fair enough because it was measured. But you've got to be able to give him the praise after a performance like that. So yeah, let's look a bit more at last night, because I think for me the first half hour, I don't think he put a foot wrong. He looked like the most threatening player. He was linking up really well. He knew where everyone was. It was kind of like tactically, I was quite impressed with him, as well as physically, like you said, he's already got the stature and the strength and the speed. But yeah, he picked himself up, didn't he, from missing that chance. And I think whilst he did fade, he seemed to come on quite strong again.
Well, he hit the bar at the end, didn't he? With that run,
yeah. So what do you think in terms of? I can see where you're coming from the Rooney comparison, but what type of player do you think he's going to kind of develop into, and what do you think he'll stick in that position that he's in, that we've seen him in so far on the right?
I think he'll stick there for the time being. And when I say time being, I would expect the next couple of years. I can't say there's been any change there, to be honest. Also, it helps, fits into the way Liverpool play, the way they're set up. I mean, Curtis Jones had a very good game. 12 months ago, he wasn't a left winger, but at under 23 level, they've pushed him on into that position, and you could tell from having seen him. The last time he played for Liverpool was at centre mid, I think it was, at Wolves in the FA Cup. I must admit, I wasn't at that game, but he was playing there, and everybody thought at the time when he made his breakthrough in the under-17s, for the 17-year-old on the tour in America last year, Curtis Jones, this is, everybody thought he was going to be central midfielder. Now it looks like he's not going to be. But Harvey Elliott's different. I think he's definitely a forward. He's definitely going to be either a wide man. Don't think he's ever going to be a centre forward or anything like that. He could be a wide man, or he could play at the tip of a diamond or an attacking midfielder. They're really the only two positions he's likely to play.
Yeah.
But for where he is now, the way Liverpool play, right wing for the foreseeable, for all the reasons that we've said. And the other thing, when he played against at Oldham in the EFL Trophy, I remember speaking to some of the other lads in the press box at the games, with the regulars who cover a lot of Liverpool games, such as James Pearce, for example. Yeah. And we all came to the same agreement that he takes an awful lot of care over when he passes the ball. And many years ago, I used to do Matt Lawrenson's column for the Daily Post, and then for the Sunday Echo. And he always said one of the best things about Steven Gerrard, not a comparison with Steven Gerrard, by the way, it's just that he would pass the ball where he wanted you to pass the ball, where he wanted you to pass the ball. So he passed the ball in a position which made it obvious where he wanted you to then next pass the ball.
Right.
So he'd always put it in front of you, so you'd never have to take a touch. And Elliott almost always was doing that last night. He was playing it in positions where the player receiving the ball, for the most part, didn't have a lot of work to do, and a lot of the decisions were made for them. That's a sign of a player. That's what Pep Linders was saying. He sees the moves ahead because he's giving people the ball, and he knows, right, I want them to do that. And obviously, you can't shout it to them.
No.
The way that you play the ball is the way, a lot of the time, the best play. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's a very interesting observation, that. In terms of the draw, do you think Arsenal in a way suits his situation? Because obviously we're talking about him now, everyone's talking about him now. He was, every single fan on social media seemed to be tweeting about him last night. Like that game, and Klopp himself said after the match last night, if Origi and Shaqiri had been fit, they would have played, which perhaps would have meant Elliott wouldn't have started. I almost feel now, Arsenal, it's going to be interesting to see how that works out, and whether both teams go full strength. But do you almost feel if he didn't start that and was kind of not kind of put on the sidelines a little bit, but wasn't thrust into the limelight once again pretty soon after a good performance, do you think that could suit his development, or do you think Klopp might even just say, you know what, you deserve a chance, you'll get a run out against Arsenal? I
think, well, obviously it's another month away. I think there's a lot of games, and you just look at Liverpool's fixtures for next month, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's a lot of tough games in that period between the two. Then this next international break and then the November international break, the games they've got there are tough. So it's what Klopp wants to do with his team. He also mentioned after the game that he said that I want to use this competition to play the youngsters. And it was, in the end, there was 5 players making the debut last night, a couple off the bench. So, I know Arsenal have also traditionally in the last couple of 10, 15 years used the League Cup for their fringe players and young players, which is what Liverpool do. I think when they got to the final the other year, they went a bit stronger because they felt they had to.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the team selection, but I think Liverpool, you're right, Shaqiri and Origi, if they were fit, they'd have been playing. And I think it still is the first team is the priority, and getting the minutes for the players is the priority. You saw with, Lovren last night started very, very rustily, very poorly, misjudging everything. But by the end, he was playing quite well and made that clearance off the line, which you don't do that if you're not on the ball and you're not. So he was in the group by that point, but it took him a long time to get going. Keita the same, Lallana a little bit, but then he played quite well. So that's the other benefit. That's the main benefit that Klopp will be looking at from the game last night. Not Elliott, because he'll know Elliott's got X amount of years before he's even going to be considered for the first team regular, because as we know he's only 16. So that's like the bonus. The likes of Kelleher, Jones, and Elliott, and Brewster finally actually playing a game of football, seeing a game of football, even though he'll play loads of games better than that. Just to get that out of the way for him would be something so important. But yeah, I think Elliott, we'll see him at some point against Arsenal. Whether it's from the start, we'll only really know near the time.
Indeed. Well, that's been your agenda. Very, very encouraging from Harvey Elliott. And as Doyle says, we will certainly see more of him, whether that's against Arsenal or not. We'll find out very soon. So yeah, we've tried to temper expectations, but we've mentioned Wayne Rooney, we've mentioned Steven Gerrard.
I was thinking I might mention Messi as well, but I thought that would be a bit daft.
And we'll end on that. Thank you very much.